So, Peter, I think your face explains a little bit why you are not here today.
Okay, so the whole point of my talk is going to be the sacrifices you have to make in making a game, and the sacrifices you have to make to the art of making a game. And one of those sacrifices happened 36 hours ago when there was a big problem here in the studio, and I had to make the decision of whether to come to wonderful Barcelona and do a talk, which I love doing, and have fantastic Spanish food, and, you know, spend some time talking to all you guys, or should I stay here as the chief designer, and the problem was more of a design problem than anything else, and sort the problems out. And you have to take a lot of hard choices, and embarrassingly, I had to take the choice to stay here. I assure you, I'd rather be there with you. I'd rather be talking to you. I'd rather be shaking all of your hands. But I would just let this entire team down, and this entire team that's working and has been working incredibly hard over the past weeks and months. And that choice, you know, as I said, is simple. But what I'm going to try and do is the best possible talk I can over Skype. I'm going to try and go through many unique things that we haven't gone through before. And because I haven't got the embarrassment of standing on stage, I'll probably be a bit more honest and truthful being here than I would be being there. So, shall we start the talk, do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Great. Okay, so can you all see that? See the presentation?
We're seeing the picture of Jack.
Oh, it's a picture of Jack.
Well, he's a cool guy, but it's not a presentation.
Oh, that'll be right. Okay, let's try.
1 second.
I was.
Oh, it's coming. Share entire screen. Start.
Jack, you have a lot of fans here already.
Is that
now? Can you see that?
Yeah, we see a lot of. Yeah, now we see it. Now we see the presentation and Jack in the corner.
Well, getting up the corner.
No, Jack. I think that's just your profile pic. That's his profile pic. Fortunately, he hasn't got his semi-naked profile pic. So what we're going to talk about is greater interaction in gaming. But I thought I'd be a bit cheeky and slightly redefine that and talk about the process that we have gone through to create something which I believe is truly innovational. It's something that the world is going to touch for the very first time. We're going to go through some of that and some of the mechanics of what that actually means. But firstly, we're going to talk about the why this happens. So let's just go through that first of all. And firstly, it's the call. You know, at the moment, I am working probably harder than I've ever worked in my life. So is all the team working harder than any work in life. And why are we doing that? Why have we set ourselves off on this strange, weird expedition, this journey to explore what innovation is? And really, for me, this all started back in the 80s when there was a British man called Sir Clive Sinclair, and he invented one of the first home computers, and it was called the ZX Spectrum, and the ZX81, and he came up with this line, and this line was, gaming is a new form of entertainment that will be more dominant than film, TV, or music. And let's just take that line and ask ourselves a question: how close are we at the moment to what he said when he said that line? So first of all, let's have a look at some statistics. You know, computer games are doing very, very well. Console gaming is doing very well. It's it's played by 80% male, 41% female. It's 2 out of 5 gamers are female. Consoles are in 65% of US households. That looks pretty good. If we look at the mobile game market, it's predicted that by 2016 it'll be at 18.3 billion. That's looking pretty good. But let's now look at let's look at this. These two things. First is console gaming, next is mobile gaming. For me, and this is a personal thing that called me to do the thing that I'm doing now. For me, console games are trapped in genres. They're constrained by being vision of it being the dominant form of entertainment, better than films, better than music, not just making more. Yes?
Yeah, we lost you for a while, but from the beginning of this new slide.
Okay, let me rewind. I was just saying, for me, console games are, at the moment, they're trapped in these genres. The first-person shooter for a genre, for example. They're constrained by these big budgets. It's too risky for the big developers to innovate, to truly innovate. And what I mean by truly innovate is redefine what we think of as a game. And then we look at mobile. For me, a mobile, the free-to-play mechanic, which should be the most brilliant innovation of the way for people to pay money to play a game, has been abused. It's sucking money out of people. It's monetizing addiction. I think a lot of what mobile gaming is confused. It gets confused about the audience, who this game is actually for. Is it really for a gamer, or is it really for a more casual market? And then lastly, in the App Store, the hundreds of thousands of apps that are in an App Store are defeated by discovery. And what I mean by that is that if you go hunting down in the depths of the App Store and on the Android store, there are some wonderful little snippets of experience that the world never sees. So here we have, in my view, 2 years ago, I looked at the gaming audience and I said to myself, you know what, the console gaming audience is broken because they're constrained by the lack of innovation in those titles, and the mobile audience is being, a lot of the gaming experiences are abusing their audience or not getting the quite right audience. So, 2 years ago, I asked myself, what am I known for? What is Peter Molyneux known for? And, I've been lucky to, and this is the key point, I have been lucky to work with some amazingly brilliant people, which have allowed me to be innovational. It allowed me to develop games like Populous and Dungeon Keeper and Black and White and Fable. And that innovation has been a true honor for me to be involved with. So I'm known for that. Now, it's pretty obvious from where I sit which choice I made, but let's go through that.
Peter,
sorry, you had something? Yeah.
Yeah. Lost you again from the beginning of that slide.
Okay, maybe I should pause on each slide. So, I was just saying that I'm known for innovation. I'm known for games like Dungeon Keeper, and Black and White, and Fable. It's been an incredible honor of mine to work with teams of people that allow me to be crazily innovational with ideas. I have a high profile, and 2 years ago I was in the safest of places. And that led me to this simple choice. Do I stay in the safety of Microsoft, or do I decide to go back to the turbulent seas of independent development? So, I did say to myself, there must be a better way. And that better way was this. Okay, it's just... when we get to the important slide, I'll just talk to it and then I'll let Jack sort it out. So, for me, this is what drives me. What drove me to leave Microsoft and drove me to set up a team. And that was to prove that gaming can be for everyone. It doesn't have to just be for a casual audience. It doesn't have to just be for a core audience. It can be for everyone. And that's really what that bloke back in the 1980s was talking about. What Clive Sinclair was talking about was gaming for everyone, not just these little cliques. To prove that with the right team, we can truly innovate. And what I mean by truly innovate isn't just the idea, it's the interaction, it's how people do things, how long they do things, what people feel when they interact with an experience. And that word feel is so important for me. I can watch a film and a TV program, I can read a book, and it can change my view of the world. I want that for gaming. I want that for gaming, not just for core gamers, not just for the people that sit down and play a game for 20 or 30 hours that burn their life away. I want it for everyone. I want to redefine the way that people interact with an experience. I want that interaction to be delightful. Delightful is such a wonderful word. A delightful experience. It means accessible, it means approachable, it means understandable, it means all of those things put together. And lastly, I want to redefine the way people invest in an experience. You know, paying money is the ultimate accolade for a game. If a game persuades you to pay money, it is the ultimate accolade, the ultimate review. And I want to make sure that an experience appreciates that. That when people pay money in a game, they really want to, not need to, they want to. And that is a big difference for me. Now, all of those things put together sound ridiculously ambitious, but that's the reason I founded this team. It was to go on this crazy journey. So, in March of 2012, I left the safety of Microsoft. I decided to bring together 22 passionate, crazy, insane people that could take words like I've just said and treat them seriously, that were willing to put on the line their lives, their experience, their passion, and their dedication. And to use all of the money that I had saved up to the end of getting to that final end of that journey, to that final experience. To throw myself in front of the maelstrom of Kickstarter and early access. To stand in front of people and allow them to throw rotten tomatoes at me and allow them to say, you know, how insane what I've done. And the reason I've done that is because I really, really, really believe in what we are trying to build. And we need, this industry needs, people to take those sort of risks. So, that gives you the why. The idea is this, I, back in 1989, stumbled on a genre of game called God games. Now, sadly, God games are a dying genre. They have been redefined by things like Farmville and Cityville. They didn't really make it over to the console platform with any delight. You know, there perhaps is 1 or 2 God games in development in the world compared to the thousands and thousands of platformers and shooters. And I love that genre so much. I think of that, and the way I define a God game is to give a player a world and allow them to be whoever they want to be in that world. So the idea is to redefine a genre of God game for everyone. Everyone means that core gamers should approach this game and just be as excited about the innovation in that game as casual gamers. Now, the first step on this journey was to bring a team together and to make, we used to get this slide on there actually. Okay, we got that slide? You got that slide?
Yeah.
Okay. To bring a team together and to make a statement in the world. And also to use that statement to solve one problem. So we made this crazy thing called Curiosity. All we said was, there's this big cube, go away and tap on this cube. Unbelievably, it was tapped on by 5 million people. We had at one point, I think, 200,000 people tapping on the cube simultaneously. We had an insane amount of artistic talent going on. There were people making pictures of everything from penises, that seemed to be the most popular thing, to retelling the story of 9/11. There were 6 marriage proposals on the side of the cube and 1 obituary. And at the center of the cube was this prize. And this prize was, when we finally release Goddess, the person who will be the god of all gods who are playing Goddess will somewhat control all those worlds. And how that works will be seen very, very shortly. It was far more successful than I've ever thought. It made people realize that I wasn't going to make just another Fable. It made people curious about what came next. The next step that we took was Kickstarter. And this is how development has changed. There's been many different ways you develop a game that I've experienced over the last 20 years. You know, everything from doing it myself with one other person at the start with a game called Populous, to having a team of 200 people working on Fable. Probably the most difficult way to develop a game is the Kickstarter route. It's difficult because you not only have to develop a game, but you have to show what you're thinking. It's like people seeing your dirty underwear every day of the week. And the analogy, I also love it, and I wouldn't do it any other way. I love Kickstarter, and I love sharing the development process with the world. And it took me a long time to really understand how to use that and what to get frightened about and to use and what not. And the analogy I'm going to give you is it's like building a kitchen in your house. Imagine that the people who backed you was your wife, and you were doing your DIY in a house, and she'd come in every day and said, "Oh, this is not going to work. You know, that space is not big enough for a cooker. You know, there's no way you're going to do it." And the start of this process is when you do your Kickstarter campaign. And that's like showing your wife the blueprint of your kitchen. And every time your wife turns around and says, "Oh, can we have a fridge here, or can we have a bread basket here?" You're probably going to say yes, because you want to get started on your kitchen. And it's very similar with developing a game, because instead of it being your wife, it's all the people who are your backers. And they're seeing the blueprint. It's only you that really knows what the kitchen's going to be finally like, or what the game's going to be finally like. So when we went into Kickstarter, that 30-day period was all about showing the plan. Now sometimes when you build a kitchen, or build a house, or paint a picture, or write a book, things don't go exactly to plan. I don't think many authors start a book and the book is exactly the same as when they finish. Things change. Just like when you're building a kitchen, you have to move things around. So very often, the backers who backed your project can't see why you're making these changes. They think you're making them for very bad reasons, rather like when your wife comes in at 9 o'clock at night into the kitchen and you're putting, you know, some plaster on the wall. She says, "Oh, well, that's never going to work, it's going to fall off." But the point is, the joy is that sometimes those backers, when they say something, they're right. Sometimes when you show them a little glimpse of what it might be, most of them will give you negative feedback, but some of them change your view of something. It really is like developing with people whispering in your ear. From Kickstarter, we went to something called Early Access on Steam. Now this is like no longer being in the blueprint stage of your kitchen. You've kind of built the walls. That's not a picture of me, by the way. I can't do DIY. My wife wouldn't even allow me to change the light switch, so, you know, that's definitely not me. The Steam Early Access, again, it's way, way off. It's like having that kitchen which has only just got the walls in. It's like having a picture where the top left-hand corner of the picture has been drawn. It's like having a book where you've only got page 56 to 86. It's a glimpse, a slither of the experience. But again, giving it to people, allowing them to see it, allowing, you know, being strong and having broad shoulders and taking the criticism, because in that criticism, there's a lot to learn. And using these amazing tools, and every developer should be using these tools, and that is analytics. The ability for me, as a designer, to see exactly, precisely what people are doing in the game is the way that you redefine it, you keep redefining it. And you have to do that. You have to watch thousands of people play a game if you really are going to live up to that dream and ambition of innovating something that people have never seen before. And then moving on to Gamma. Gamma is where you release something. Goddess, the redefinition of the God game that we're doing, is on iOS, eventually it'll be on Android, and Mac and PC. But releasing it to a small section of the world is another step. Again, it's like having a kitchen and now you've put the shelves up. There's still lots of things wrong. Your wife is still coming in and saying, "Oh, I don't like that. You know, that's not. You know, that's not going to work." and still you're looking and inquiring about what are people obsessing about. You know, in a minute I'll show you some of the analytics that really have instructed and shown us and told us what we're doing right or wrong. And now, and primarily the reason I'm not with you today, we're almost ready for release. And it's only then that the kitchen is finished. It's only then that your wife walks in and says, "Oh, this is brilliant. Oh, I love the cooker and the shelves. I love the colour of the walls." Before that, only the person building the kitchen really knew what it was going to be like in the end. And that's the experience that I hope the world is soon to have with Goddess. It is, for me, a wonderful, incredible experience like nothing has happened, like nothing has been before. And if I was with you now, I would be able to give you a release date, but I'm not with you now, so I can't give you a release date. So that's what we're building here. Let's now go through some of the way that we work here and that we build things here, and then let's go through a little bit of the some of the unique interactions in Goddess. So, Jack, could you load up that design document? Now, first of all, the way I work as a designer, and again, if you're going to make something that's never been made before, in my view, and this is the way I work, and it's a little bit crazy, what you've really got to depend upon is the genius of the people that you work with. And that means that when you're showing them or inspiring them what idea to develop on, you can't, there's going to be a careful blend between over-inspiring them or over-specifying something. If you over-specify something, then it results in, what's that?
Old stuff.
Old stuff. Well, you got some new stuff. If you over-specify something, then you're not going to get the brilliance from them. So there's this careful balance with giving them enough so they understand the problem that you want them to solve, but not giving them too much that they actually turn into robots. So let's have a look here. If you just showed this one. This is one of the original design documents. Now, a lot of designers, probably a lot more successful designers than me, have probably much more efficient and effective ways of working. But for me, we're making a God game. In God games, there needs to be destructive God powers like Meteor. Now, I could have spent 2 weeks just writing one single design document for this God power, where every single aspect, every single graphical tweak was specified out. But instead, for the God power of the meteors, the ability to throw meteors in the game, this screen you're looking at here was the design document. It just tries to give people a visual clue of what you're aiming for without over-specifying it, because this goes out to artists just the same as programmers. It comes up with a very salient points, but not over-specifying, because you want to drag out of people their own ideas. And it allows them to be as creative as you, because that's what you want. Is that if you really want to innovate something, if you really want to create something that's never been created before, you need to pull the creativity out of everybody that you work with. Because you cannot possibly, in my view, create and innovate through design tones of documents. So this is one example. This then goes out to the team. The team then starts brainstorming and working on an idea and a way of that works. And we use a system called Scrum. We use a system called Scrum. Scrum is is a methodology and a way of working which is brilliant for creativity. So this is our Scrum wall. This is someone called Christine, who you may, when we walk round, we may meet. And Christine is, every day, she fills in these tickets that people, of what people are going to work on. And so, for example, that Meteor document would go out to the team. The team would then say, okay, I can score this, it's called scoring, and I can break my bits of the task down. She then sticks all that on the wall. We stand in front of the wall every morning, and we, as those tickets come off from the to-do into the in progress, slowly the feature evolves. At the end of every 2 weeks, we have, we should have, and this isn't always true, but we try to make the game playable. So at the end of every 2 weeks, you have enough features in the game to bring them together and make them playable. This goes through cycle after cycle, 2 weeks after 2 weeks. At the end of the 2 week cycle, there would be a design doc. Do you have a complete design doc? Why don't you load up a sprint? You've got a sprint, one of the old sprints. Go on to the share.
Yeah.
I'll carry on talking while Jack finds it. So in that 2 week cycle, at the end of the 2 week cycle, we have a playable build. The designers are then responsible for playing that playable build, and then they produce these very visual documents, which are sent out to the team again. They score those, those are put on the wall, and we repeat. Anyway, that's all for the team. So here, this is for short sprint 2. You can see it kind of breaks down the work. We've got this confidence rating, how confident we are as a team that we can get that completed. A focus, what we're focusing on. So this is the start of game, happiness, fountains, and abode style. And again, it's very, very visual. This was redefining the start of the very, very start of the game. I won't go through it all. There's a little bit of detail here about a new feature called happiness. Another new feature called fountains. Again, being a little bit exact with it, but as you can see, you don't want to. The picture of a fountain you've got there isn't anything like it is in the final game. And then maybe sometimes you want to inspire someone. That's where Google is incredibly useful. So we weren't too happy with the style of the abodes in the game, so we went back and we said, right, let's re-inspire the artists to come up with that. That then goes out to the team, they score it, and we iterate through this process over and over again. While that also 2 weeks is going on, the designers are looking at the analytics of all the gamers who are playing the game. They're looking at the communities, they're brainstorming different ideas, they're worrying, our constant worry is about motivation. Now, one thing to bear in mind is that because the world is only playing a little snapshot, a little slither of the game, you've got to be very confident in your final vision. You've still got to believe in the final vision, because you can't give people the whole game in early access or Kickstarter or Gamma. You can only give people a little tiny slither of the game. So we actually went through many iterations with players. I mean, at one point they were playing multiplayer games, and at another point they were fighting with their little people and there were wars. At another point there was no wars in there. And each of these little slithers we in design have to kind of stitch together. Let's now take a little walk around and see the team in action here at 22 Cans.
Let's try and get mobile.
Okay. I would hold that.
I can try.
Yeah. Okay. So here we are. This is This is the team in front of me. It's probably worth showing the team. This is the team. They're all working insanely hard. We've got this slightly weird mixture of people. There's Pavle over here from Portugal. There's Tom, who's an intern over there from Are you from Belgium, Tom? Belgium, yeah. We've got who's Spanish? Sarah from Spain there. Gemma, you're not Spanish. So those people there. Pavle never worked in the industry before, never done a game before. Tom's never done a game before. Sarah's never done a game before, because we don't only just want to work with old, wrinkly people like me and this guy over there, Paul McLaughlin, who I've worked with since just after I did Populous. We want that fresh, new blood to come in there. So this is the design bench. This is Jamie. He is currently working on the insanely hard task of flow, to make sure the game flows right. This is Conrad. He's working on different maps and levels design. This is production. Production is in charge of making sure that everyone's working on the right thing at the right time. This is the production wall, where normally we have those tickets. Where are your tickets, Chrissy? Where are all your tickets?
We have those.
You haven't thrown them away, have you?
No, we've got them in a box, actually.
Where's the box?
Huge box.
You get in the box.
It's open.
We'll show you the tickets. But at the moment, we need the space. Sorry?
Can we go for the screen?
Oh, yeah. We need the space. Jamie, sometimes in design you have to physicalize things. You have to make something tangible. And the flow, this is the flow here. If I picked this little piece of paper up and moved it over here, it would change the game entirely, so I won't do that. But that's the sort of thing that's going on. This is the tickets. This is the tickets. These are all the tasks and things that the team has done over the last, how long is that?
Oh, currently, this is for the last 6 months. It's probably over at least 6,000 items.
Yeah, about 6,000 of those tickets have been put on the wall by Christine and Gemma, have been taken off the wall when programs have done it. Then here we have the coding department. There's Dimitri, there's Fabs, there's Paul, there's Pavle, there's Tom, there's Bruno, and there's Tim. This is our server area. Nowadays we've got this crazy thing where you can connect people together. And that's one of the amazing things that we're going to do in Goddess, is connect people together. So they're kind of in charge of that. They're also using some external people to help. And then one of the things that we love to do here at 22 Cans, and anybody in the audience that wants to apply for this can, we love to bring people in and get them to play the game and just spend a week with us playing the game and giving us some feedback. So this is Sam. Say hello to Spain.
Hello, Spain.
Sorry, David. And Sam and David, they're currently playing the game. They're writing down these suggestions. And I've got one of Sam's suggestions.
David.
David's suggestion. Where's your suggestion, Sam?
Amsterdam.
Let's have a look at Sam's suggestions. Very bad writing. Ability to flick followers would be very satisfying. Well, I probably agree with that. You haven't unlocked Finger of God yet, so you can flick. So, you know, that, again, creators and designers are it's more about curating ideas than it is having ideas of your own. This is George. He is in charge of communities, making sure that people understand where we are and what we're doing. George's life is incredibly tough because very often we'll release a little slither of the game which people don't really understand, or they'll think that it's you know, oh, this isn't the game I signed up for, and George is the only person that make sure that people understand what's going on. And then here we have test. This is our test department. We've also got about 60 testers over in the Philippines who are every day they're scurrying away and doing stuff. This is Tony. He's in charge of GUI. Not many people realize that GUI is one of the hardest, toughest jobs to do and one of the hardest and toughest things to get right. So if our GUI is wrong, it's my fault and Tony's fault, I think, probably. And then here we have art. Art is it's a crazy world, art, because they're busy more at the start than they are at the end. They'll probably disagree with me here. More at the start at the end, but a lot of time they're the ones that are taking these documents, which are very horribly put together, and interpreting them and making them artistic. This is Peter. He's currently doing particle effects for just tweaking a particle effect for this living water, dynamic water that we have in the world. It's black. It shouldn't be black. This is Paul, who is in charge of all the artists, and you know his brilliance has been shown and proven in almost every game that I've worked on, and but I think this is his best work without a shred of a doubt. Matt and Matea, together these two probably did 90% of the art. Would you say that's true? Yeah, probably is true. And Guillermo, who also works on the art. And then here, single-handedly in the corner, with his headphones on, is Tim, who's done every single frame of animation in the game. And I actually cried at one of Tim's animations last night. So.
Is that bad?
No, it wasn't that sort of cry. And then over here we have two other testers, and then the only people who aren't directly involved in development in this studio is someone called Peter and Michelle. I think they're away on holiday. I know where they are, but you know, they're the business end. So that's the studio. I love working together as one team. Let's just take a couple of seconds. I'd like Jack to demonstrate some of the sculpting, if we can, and to talk about what made it special for you.
Okay, I'm running.
Have we got time for that? Are you getting tired?
No, we have time for that, yeah.
Oh,
Okay, right. Do you want to hold the camera up, Peter?
yeah, well, why don't you put the camera down here? And why don't you point it at the screen and then just talk about the sculpting?
All right, let's improvise. Oh, there's the camera. I mean, there's the screen. Can you see that?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
See this? Oh. So, can this be better? Probably. Okay. So, where's the mouse? That's the first challenge. Thank you. So yeah, this is sculpting on the PC version. Oh, it's all a bit fast for some reason. Where's the mouse? I still can't find it. Oh, here we go. I'm going to use this. Oh, why is it sped up for some reason? These are live bugs, ladies and gentlemen. Where's Goddess? Goddess builds. 7, 3, 2, 4. As you see, we've had 7,324 builds of the game so far. And pretty much from day one, the first thing everyone started prototyping was the sculpting, which has been a very big labour of love for me, working very closely with Paul Riordan, our coder, who's been working on the sculpting and lots of other wonderful things. This is our new world. We pretty much from the last 2 years. I'm not allowed to show you off this yet. Okay. Close your eyes, and we'll find a nice bit of land, somewhere like here. So this is what we haven't seen in any other game before. Oh, the mouse isn't plugged. Is it working? No. Okay, I'm just going to bring you up a trackpad. So we've gone through prototypes for over a year now, and we finally come up with this idea of sculpting the land. And this is particularly wonderful when you use your finger, and you can touch on an iPhone or an iPad and mould the world. And it's a really delicious experience. We haven't had this in any other game we've played. And our code support team have just managed to get this running at such a lovely frame rate on the iPad and the iPhone. And this is the thing, I think we feel like these games on iPads and iPhones, they're such a generic...
I do want to talk about the mechanics of sculpting, because I think that's really interesting, is talk about, how you're helping the player and what little tweaks that you do that make it feel like that.
Okay, sure. So when we started out with sculpting, it would always go the wrong way. Every time you went to flick the screen, you'd always never know what the land was going to do. So we've had to do lots and lots of underlying work to try and make sure we can work out all the nuances that your finger makes on the screen, that your mouse makes, and try and find the average of these things, so we can try and make sure the land's always going to go the way you want it to. This whole landscape is made out of billions of tiny little things we call voxels, and so I don't know if we can show that, but if you imagine like a wireframe or something like that, it's very similar. F9 wireframe. There we go. So something like this is what the whole world's made out of. And so the whole world's made out of this wireframe here. And originally you were only really allowed to manipulate one of these little triangles at a time. So you're talking about going flick, flick, flick. And so what we've basically spent months doing is trying to allow the user to be able to manipulate any of these in any way they like. So, and when you've got all these plateaus on top of each other, there's a lot of misreads and errors you can come up with, and so it's taken a long time to get this right, but now we're at a point where this feels very delightful.
Brilliant, Joe, thank you very much. I think it's taken up a lot of your time, and it's probably best that we throw it open to any questions now that people may have.
Okay, yes, we can start with some questions. ¿Podemos coger alguna pregunta, por favor? ¿Quién puede tener alguna pregunta para Peter?
It's quite hard to hear that.
Yeah, well.
Maybe, Ivan, if you could you restate the question? I think that would be the safest option.
Yeah, I will do it. I'll just wait for someone to ask a question. I will restate it. ¿Alguien tiene alguna pregunta? Sí, por aquí. ¿El micrófono? Hola. ¿Alguien nos trae el micrófono? ¿Sí? Vale.
Great.
Te queda poquito.
No, it's perfect. Right.
Thank you, Peter, for your patience. Can you listen to me? You hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, Peter Lobo, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
You are one of the maximum models of how to go out from the mainstream industry and dive into the wilderness of indie development. I mean, without a safety net, I think, as you told before, you are spending your own savings on your studio, right?
Yeah, he said that you are a very good example of someone that comes from the safeness of the big production. You go to the wideness of the industry.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
As you...
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not the question. It's only... the question is, taking this into account, you know very well how Microsoft, for example, in this case, precisely, how Microsoft works and how many processes they have and how hard it is to innovate in a big company or with investors and everything. Now, how hard do you think that this early access model will take to be more accepted into mainstream companies? Like to have do you imagine in the future like a 22 cans studio, something like that, in Microsoft with a model similar to what you are doing, like with this freedom, with a bigger degree of freedom to create games based on the feedback from the community?
So basically, I think if we can try this, do you think that big corporations like with Microsoft and some big publishers can do this kind of creating new games, getting so much feedback from the consumers that you are doing?
I think it's very, I'm not saying they can't, I think it's very, very difficult because there are many times when in the development process that you can see reasons not to go forward. You know, if I just looked at the way the community's gone, you know, they've gone from really being very, very against an idea that we have implemented to the point of being very, very caustic about it. And that, whenever you get negative feedback, well, in my experience, I've been part of two big organizations, Electronic Arts and Microsoft. What I find is that the way politically big companies work is that if you do get negative feedback, that makes your project less likely to go forward. Now, I'll give you a perfect example. For me, there was a project that I worked on called Milo, which was shown off at E3 in 2009, and it got some negative feedback because people, you know, that's the way the world was, and that made it very, very difficult to keep on pushing through. So I think you do need to just go wild with an idea and not be burdened by, you know, a corporate culture in there.
Thank you.
Hi. For Project Flick, could you tell us any curiosity about your beginning as a video games developer?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Could you tell us any curiosity about your beginning as a video games developer?
So if you would like to know something that happened to you when you started as a developer, something curious happened to you when you started as a developer. How was your career when you started developing?
Well, I started the most curious thing was how I really stumbled into the games industry, because when I first started out in business, I had a little company that was exporting baked beans to the Middle East. That's how I started in this industry. And we were called Taurus. This company was called Taurus, and we exported baked beans to the Middle East. And I made about, €100th of a euro every tin of baked beans that went to the Middle East. Now, people who live in the Middle East don't eat many baked beans, so I was starving myself. And then, strangely, there was a phone call from a company called Commodore that was making this new computer called the Amiga, and they said, oh, we'd like to show you our new Amiga. Now, my company at that time was 2 people, and I went along and rolled out the red carpet for me and sent a car over and showed me this new machine, and they said, we'd love you to be a developer on the new machine, and they'd send me a free development kit and 6 computers, and I was thinking, this is amazing. And it only occurred to me halfway through the day that they had got the wrong company. They had phoned up my company, where they should have phoned up this other company, which was a bona fide developer, but I carried on with the lie. These 6 computers arrived, and I thought, well, I might as well use them for something, and so I started developing games. Yeah.
Yeah. As you said, you use analytics to improve your games. How you use it, and aren't you afraid this will make your game less personal? That it will lose personality some way? So, you said that you use analytics in your
Yeah.
how do you use them, and also using analytics to make your game less personal?
Well, there's 2 types of analytics. There's what I like to call analytics porn. And that's what analytics is famous for. It's things like DAUs, daily active users, NUUs, new active, NAUs, new active users. It's things like ARPU, average revenue per daily active users. That's what I call analytics porn. I'm not interested in that stuff. If I am in a boardroom in a big corporation, I'm looking at that porn and I'm getting excited if the graph goes up or the graph goes down. What I'm interested in is what we have done. As we've developed this game, we have put analytics into every single little game feature. So at this precise moment in time, I can tell you how many people are sculpting, where they're sculpting in the world, how much their time they're spending sculpting, whether they're sculpting in the mountains or down by the sea. That allows me to tweak a single game feature. Being able to see this live, I can say, right, I've got an idea. I'd like to change it so that sculpting builds mountains. Right, let's see how many people are actually spending, what percentage of their time are they spending sculpting versus looking after their people, versus going on voyages, versus meeting other gods. And that's what I find as a designer fascinating. Now we have got, let me just ask, Tim, how many data points have we got?
We've got, my live version, we've probably got about 20 million.
Yeah, we've got about 20 million data points, 20 million bits of data that I can look at in the last month. And that is a fascinating thing. It is a bewildering amount of data, and you need to be very precise. It's like there was the Greek oracle. There was this myth about the Greek oracle, is that you could go to this woman in Greek mythology and ask her any question you like, but she would give you an answer. You had to ask the right question, and that's what you have to do with this data. You have to ask the right question. And the sort of questions I ask regularly is, what percentage of people's time are people sculpting this individual spot? If I change this little tiny piece of land, I just change it a little bit and I send it out to the world, because we can do this with our game. I can change any single person's game in the entire world. I could do it now. If someone was playing in the audience in Barcelona, I could change their individual version, or I can change an entire territory. So I can experiment on the fly. What if I change this piece of land? What if I give people more resources? What if I push a feature in the game earlier? And that, I think, is wonderful. So much more instructive. And I would say, my guess is, very few people are using analytics to design games. Very many people are using analytics to make themselves sexually excited about games.
Los videojuegos pueden llegar a cualquier persona. Ya estaba hablando mucho de los datos que recogen. Me gustaría saber primero si eso lo está cumpliendo, es decir, si las personas que juegan el juego son todos esos públicos que él dice que pueden llegar a jugar a videojuegos. Y mi siguiente pregunta igual es un poco comprometida, pero se ve que él puede tocar cualquier parte de cualquier juego, de cualquier forma que él quiera, ¿no? Entonces, como que no solamente está haciendo un videojuego sobre los dioses, sobre cómo ser tú Dios, sino que él también está jugando a ser un poco Dios con su propio videojuego. Entonces me gustaría saber cómo se siente al respecto.
Vale, como me he quedado tanto con la segunda, ¿me repites por favor la primera?
Sí, que si los datos que tiene sobre el videojuego, de todas las personas que lo están testeando, realmente está llegando a conseguir el objetivo de llegar a todo el mundo, que es una de las cosas que él planteaba al principio de la charla.
So she says that Peter, at the end of the talk, you said that one of your objectives was getting to all kind of topics that rolled out to everyone. And she was asking you, seeing the statistics, seeing the data that you have from the game right now, you're accomplishing that objective.
Well, no is the honest answer to that, because remember that what we're releasing to the public at the moment is just tiny little pieces of the game as opposed to the whole game experience, because you have to, you know, obviously if you could release the whole game experience you would. So what we have done is in September last year we released onto Steam, and you can download it now if you wish, a version of Goddess which was, we put a few core game mechanics in there, like the ability for people to play multiplayer games of Goddess and battle and kill each other. Then we removed that feature because we got all the data from that we needed. We saw that people liked doing it. We found that people were very core gamers, were really obsessed about it. And the next thing that we really did is start to introduce and ask ourselves this question: how much time will people spend doing something with very light motivational curves? Because the problem is, if you're doing something for a more casual audience, you cannot give them very, very hard objectives because they become slavish to those hard objectives. So I would say the answer to your question is, on certain versions, I can see, yes, we're appealing to casual audience, yes, we're appealing to core audience. It's only when we bring all those together, which we are doing at this moment in time, that question really will be answered. It is a very hard question to answer. It's, you know, there are a few books that have been written, a few films that have been filmed, a few plays that are acted that appeal to everybody. But they're very, very rare. So we understand that what we're trying to do is very difficult. And my trick is to allow people to be who they want to be in a game, rather than me demanding that they be a sort of person. And so the real answer to that question is that we've seen that we're appealing, we can change some dynamics and give pieces of the game to different audiences and they'll love it. It's only when we bring it together we'll find out it really works, and that's going to be, I'm going to be glued to my analytics screens to see that.
We had another question, but we don't have time for it, but just wanted to tell you, the question was, is Goddess more a God game, or is it more that Peter Molyneux playing the God overall?
Well, I just want, I mean, no one in the audience will believe this, but
it is an amazing experience for someone like me to have the ability to try out an idea and to see people enjoying it. And I just, you know, it sounds like the most Hollywood crass thing to say, but I just love the feeling of people enjoying the games I've worked on. And I just hope the world does. I mean, I love the game, and people here love the game, and I'm just looking around the studio and seeing people, you know, working on the game, and that's what gives it. I don't want to control anything. I just want to make a great game that proves that, you know, that you can change the industry. You can change things, and I want to, you know, come back and say that original vision that Clive Sinclair had for computer games to be a dominant form, because it's my most beloved experience, can be a reality if we are brave and innovational and we do take risks, and that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Well, the jury's out, basically.
Thank you very much.
Not at all. Thank you all so much for understanding me not being there. As I said, I'd much rather be there than here, and I apologise so much for not being there, especially to you, Ivan. I would love to have been in the position to do it. I hope this talk has been a little bit revealing, and we've never really shown, you know, anything around the studios we have here today. So I hope that makes goes a little way for making up for me not being there in person. Please feel free to email me, and thank you very much for listening.